All right. Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on creating a culture of trust. My name is Mackenzie Keller with the CSD Pool, and I'm joined by CPS HR consultant Terri Bianco. Terri has an extensive career in the public sector and has designed multiple training programs that cover communication, team building, employee engagement, leadership development, and more. This webinar will focus on the importance of trust in teams, which behaviors generate trust and which ones diminish them, and other communication tools that you can use. If you have questions throughout the webinar, you can put them in the chat so that our presenter can see them, and we will also have some time at the end of the webinar for you to put in questions that we'll answer. This webinar is being recorded and the recording will be distributed sometime later today. So if you have to step away for whatever reason or there's part of it you'd like to come back to and watch again, you will have that opportunity. With that, Terri, I'll turn it over to you.
Good morning, everybody. That's a nice intro, Mackenzie. Thank you. I do all that and more. Boy, that's for sure. Lots more. So welcome, Colorado Pool. It's going to be 102 here in Sacramento, so I kind of wish I did have a pool, but that's not the kind of pool you have, I know. So good morning. We're going to talk about trust, and we have a handout that we'll send out to you at the right time and a poll. So it's hopefully as interactive as we could be. I've got some questions that I'd like you to chat the answers to. I think unless you can unmute, I don't know if that's possible. But anyway, so I'm Terri, and I don't have to introduce myself because Mackenzie did a great job of it. So I want to know, show of hands, how many people have been in New York City? Have gone to New York? Okay, we got, whoa, a lot of you. Okay, so if you've been to New York, you know, or maybe even if you haven't, you know, that they move very fast in New York. In the mornings, they come out of their apartments and they start moving. They're racing to the office or to their subway. And so consequently, there's these vending trucks that are strategically stationed at various intersections selling coffee and bagels and maybe a donut or two. So this is a true story. This reporter was out and he's noticing all these people going and getting their coffee and then they take off after that. And so he noticed one particular truck had more people than the rest. They had a lot longer line and they were moving rather quickly. So he went in to look at it and he saw that Ralph, the owner, what he does was let's say Candy says, I'd like a coffee, a regular coffee. That means coffee with milk in New York, a regular coffee and a bagel. And Ralph says that's $7, which is about right in New York. So Candy hands him a $10 bill and he shows her a pile of money on his counter. I mean, ones, singles, tens, change, and he tells her to make her own change. So she does and moves on. Next person, same thing. So he has this pile of money sitting there and he serves them and they make their change or leave their money and go. So do you think in all of this that some people might have ripped him off? Yes or no? Maybe they took a dollar or two more than they should have. Or they didn't make the right change. Probably. Possibly. No. Well, you know, yeah, it's New York, so someone probably did. But do you also think that possibly people gave him a tip? They left more than they needed to. What's your answer there? Absolutely. Yes, yes, yes. Definitely. Well, now the coffee is no better than the other places, I don't think, and the bagels are bagels. So the reporter interviewed some of the customers, and they said, we like the feeling of being trusted first thing in the morning. It just started their day off. So being trusted is a valuable thing to have. And if some of you are working remotely, you're being trusted to do your work, and it feels pretty good, doesn't it? I like it anyway. So, okay, so trust, but what is it? I mean, it's not something you could hold. It's not something you can eat. Is it a feeling? Maybe a value, a verb, an adjective, and a noun. I trust you, trusting soul. I give you my trust. a set of behaviors or actions, a motivator. What else could it be? So this is where we're going to do the poll. You ready, Mackenzie? So
Yes.
in this poll, I want you to review the list of words describing trust and select those, you can do more than one, that I think it's those, all that apply to you. If you have one that's not listed, please put other and then tell us what it is at the end, because that's how the list got built. Okay, ready? Go for it.
Just let me know how long you want me to run that for, Terry.
Yeah. We're only at 58%. 78%, getting there. Maybe another couple minutes. It's kind of knee jerk, you guys. You're not going to get graded on this. Okay, that's, well, one more, one more. Okay, I think we can end the poll and share the results. So what you'll see is a lot of people said trust is essential to sound relationships, and trust is a process. Those are the top vote getters. But there's a lot of things in there: motivator, conditional. I don't see that anyone said other, but I can't move. Oh, yes, I can. Okay. So we had two people that said other. So if you want to share what that is.
There's a couple in the chat. One person said that trust is a privilege, and the other said that trust is fragile.
Oh, good. Those are both very good. Usually people say trust is earned, which it's okay, but who's the one that says whether they earned it or not? Okay, that's good. So let me look at it again. I like precious, privilege, and fragile. Very nice. Okay, but so let's say that's it. Ken's, we're done. Did we all see the results? I think a process. Yeah. Nope. Trust is essential to sound relationships is the winner. Okay, so if it is, then how do you build it? Culture of trust occurs at the intersection of where people connect. So if you want to have sound relationships, that's where trust occurs. It builds over time, so there's your process. Team culture can exist separately within the organizational culture. Your team can have a different culture than the whole organization. Culture is influenced by the style of the organization's leaders. So leaders can dictate, can damage and create trust, both. So the three tips to create trust is first, connect through communication. You can't have essential relationships, can't have relationships that are sound without connecting through communication. It's also transparency, vulnerability, and apologizing. And finally, we don't ever talk about it. So that's the third tip. So connect through communication. That means talk to each other. And you all have access to information galore with the browsers and internet and rules and regulations you could read, AI and chat GBT and all that. But what do you do when you want to get to know somebody, a team member, a colleague, a new manager, whoever? You need to connect with them. And how do you do that? You ask questions. You find out more about them, what makes them tick. But there are two types. One's closed-ended. Those are the ones that get facts or dates. When did you start here? Where are you from? And then there's open-ended, which tend to get more information. They can start with what, how, and why. So I'll explain that in a minute. Closed-ended questions. Excuse me. I have a throat thing going on. Oh, it's cold. Closed-ended questions, if they elicit short yes and no and short responses, people only answer what you ask them. They gather data, facts, or feelings, and they limit the other person's ability to say more. So you can say, when did you start here? 2018. That's closed-ended. That's all you asked. How do you like it here would be a different question, wouldn't it? So Susan Scott says in a wonderful book, if you're drilling for water, it's better to drill one big 100-foot well than 100 one-foot wells. And she's referring to asking an open-ended question versus a closed-ended question, which really seems like you're drilling down. Where are you from? How long have you been here? How old are you? You know, what's your mother's maiden name? All that stuff is just factual. It doesn't say much about how the person thinks, feels, or believes. Open-ended, though, allows people to share thoughts, feelings, and ideas. If you ask a question that's open, they are invited to share. They could offer a wide range of responses to your question. And when they do, and when you interact back and forth, it creates a bond and it creates trust. And when you're asking these questions, you're sort of in charge. Well, you are in charge of the conversation. And when they answer it, and then you give and take after that, it kind of, if someone answers an open-ended question, it has a way of moving along to other pieces. And so you do create that bond. So the next time you see this person or hear from them, you say, hey, how's it going? Fine. And you know that you know something about this person and they know something about you and they have trusted you to share what their thoughts were. So some samples is, how did you decide that? How did you decide that? Find out how they think. What do you plan to do about it? What would stop you? I do a lot of coaching, and sometimes I say that. What would stop you from doing this? What would you like to tell me? This is a good question if you have a customer or a colleague that's upset about something. What would you like to tell me? Because they could get it out then. In what way? For instance, that's not a question, is it? But it's eliciting more information. For instance, what happened then? And so it's asking for more information. How did you make that choice? Where will this lead? Help me understand, also not a question, but it's asking for more information. So if, if I promised to give you a report and I didn't, instead of saying, when are you going to give me that report? Help me understand why I haven't received that report, because there may be a good reason. What options have you tried? Now, we're going to do a pop quiz because I know you were paying close attention here. So I want you in the chat to answer whether this is open or closed, or CEQ or OEQ, whichever. Have I understood you correctly? Very good. Closed, closed, closed. Okay, how about this? Could you explain further? Aha, Kelsey's. So it's a trick question. It sounds like it's open. Could you explain further? It's asking for more information, but I could simply say no. I can't explain further. So how would you rephrase this so it would be definitely more open? You want to know, you want someone to explain it further. How would you do that instead of just saying, could you explain further? Please explain further. Simple. These things aren't difficult, but they have a mindset. You've got to have that mindset of wanting to open up to people. What does that mean to you, open or closed? Yeah, good. Open. Feelings, what does that mean? For example, open or closed? Open, open, open. Good. Yeah, that's like, for instance, what else? So most of these are sound open, right? How did your interview go? Open or closed? These kind of could be both. So it is another trick question. How did your interview go? You could just say fine. It depends sometimes on how you ask it. Hey, how'd your interview go? And they want to tell you, thank you for being interested in me. Good job, you all passed. So open questions allow you to gain more information than you would have with a closed-ended question. You learn how other people think. Some people think very differently than you do, but you learn how they think, and it builds trust. Good things to have. So the other part of communicating and building trust is listening. You want them to know you are listening. Listen for their emotion, their tone, their pauses, and paraphrase what you hear. So paraphrasing is actively listening. It clarifies and confirms what somebody said. So you won't jump into assumptions because they say something, you might have heard it wrong. So if you paraphrase, so it sounds like you're going to Mississippi for your vacation. No, actually Missouri. So clarifies. Lets them know you were heard. They were heard. That's what people want. They want to be heard. That builds trust. They reflects what a person is saying as a fact, a feeling, or an intention. Fact, what happened was you missed the bus. You didn't hear back. Feeling, you're frustrated. Yeah, I am. Thanks for noticing that. Sounds like you're very proud of your son. Intention, you plan to. We agree that. When you've paraphrased that intention, it kind of makes it a little more solid. You plan to be here on time next time. Okay. So they're ineffective listening tools that we often use. So one is to give advice, which you ought to do, judge or criticize, solve the problem for them, prepare to share your own story. I have a friend, if I'm telling him something, it's like he can't wait to tell me something that's totally unrelated, but it's his story. So I can see he didn't listen, right? Interrupt, guilty. Multitask, like this guy's doing all of that. Avoid eye contact. So what's your poor listening habit? Come on, own up. Which one do you do? Multitask. Interrupt, solve the problem, judge. Well, a lot of you multitasking doesn't work. Trying to solve the problem. Don't let them finish. The same as interrupting again. Yep. Impatient. We're all very impatient. Thank you for being so honest. So the other way to establish trust is through transparency. And transparency is also includes vulnerability and apologizing. So we all talk about transparency, like we wish our leadership would be more transparent. What do we really mean? What about you? We already have technological transparency. I mean, network world, we are very transparent. We may be too transparent with social media and so forth. But we create interpersonal transparency by the behaviors and actions we do to be transparent. We want to make sure people know I'm not hiding anything. This is me. This is what you see is what you get. You got to have to kind of practice it. People aren't used to it. They're used to people hiding out. Another way when you ask those questions, open-ended questions, is share back what you heard. That's paraphrase. And then maybe you can tell your own story. But, I've done the same thing. So you create that transparency, which also builds the trust up. So you want to be clear about what you're thinking and saying. You want to tell the truth. Say the tough things. I think that's the hardest part for people trying to be transparent from leadership on down. You need to say, this isn't working. I'm not happy with what's going on. Be available to people. Let them know I'm available to you. And honor honesty. When someone's very honest, you want to say, thank you for your candor. Thank you for being so honest about that. So vulnerability also goes with transparency. It's admit it when you don't know it. And when we're vulnerable, people immediately forgive. I mean, it's like we all know what that's like. You want to share your thoughts and your fears. Being vulnerable opens the door for the other to do the same. So it creates a trust that way because everybody's made a mistake or had a weakness. And when you admit it, when you say, I'm not really, I'm a little afraid that I'm not very good at this, or maybe someone giving a presentation and the first thing they say is, I'm a little nervous up here. People immediately are on their side. So that's vulnerability. And then apologizing is deliberate vulnerability. It allows you to accept responsibility. To apologize shows a lot of character. You're able to say, I am really sorry. And it's about you being genuine and transparent. It is as powerful as it is. It is powerful as it offers to mitigate a wrong, right a wrong, a mistake. You're trying to admit it and get it cleared up. It's not only the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. If you feel like you've harmed something or somebody in certain ways, if you clearly apologize, genuinely apologize, then you're clean. You've done it. And if they don't accept it, that's on them because you made your best effort to a sincere apology. And people usually do accept it, but if they don't forgive you after that, that's their problem now, not yours. So this is an old confession of one man humbles all. And you all, I don't know, you're probably not even old enough to remember Richard Nixon, our president then, was accused of breaking into the Watergate apartments or condos or whatever to steal information from the Democratic Party. And he denied it and denied it and denied it. He went to China to maybe we'd forget about it, and nobody forgot about it. And Woodward and Bernstein of the Post kept chasing down the story. And anyway, he finally ended up resigning. And I've often thought if he had just apologized and said, I should not have done that. That was wrong. I'm sorry. It might have been totally different. So sometimes apologizing really cleans things up a bit. It doesn't mean it wasn't wrong. It was wrong. But he went through a lot of angst about it before he was finally pushed out of office. How fun is that? So the other way is to highlight it. Talk about it often. Let's mention it at our meetings. Let's make agreements. If anybody's got some issues around trust, you need to bring them to the table. Check in with people. By that, you could ask them more questions. What's going on with you? And ask the open questions. And listen fully. Listen effectively. Try not to multitask. And ditch the elephant. What do I mean by that? Anybody, what do you think I mean by ditching the elephant? You're having a team meeting, a conversation, discuss it, talk about the hard stuff. Yeah, the elephant in the room is everybody knows it's there. The obvious things was say what hasn't been said. Yes, keep the elephant out of the room. Right. Yeah, face them, and mention it. We all know that we have a budget problem, so let's talk about it instead of, wonder. Everybody knows it's a big elephant in the middle of the room. So you gotta, at least acknowledge it, give it a peanut or something, but you gotta tell it. So the importance of trust on a team, you're on a team and you want to be able to trust one another. And I'm not kidding, we don't talk about it enough on your teams, to make sure that everybody's in agreement that we need to have a lot of trust going on, particularly if you work collaboratively. And some, I don't know whether you all are working remotely or hybrid or what. Maybe you're all at the office. It's all over the place. But if you're working remotely, you're sometimes working on the project alone by yourself, autonomously, but you're on a team. So then you get together with the others on a meeting or whatever, and a shared post, and you work together, you collaborate. So you got to trust one another that person's going to come through, is going to be accountable, and he's going to get the job, the results. So the importance is trust makes you feel safe. I'm on this team and we trust one another. I feel very safe. It allows us to rely on each other. I need you to do my job, and we need to rely on each other. So I got to trust you. People engage and take ownership when there is trust. They say, "Hey guys, let's do this." They're part of the team in a stronger way, I guess. It enables risk taking and innovation. You can take a risk and maybe come up with a crazy idea, but if you have trust, they're not going to laugh you out of there. They're going to accept it. And that's where innovation can come from. And it makes for very powerful teams. There's a store, I don't know if you have a Trader Joe's there in Colorado, but Trader Joe's has a wonderful teamwork going on. Very powerful. You feel it when you walk in. They're all very bouncy and talk to each other and laughing and supportive and good customer service. And you really know it's a team. It's a powerful team. And it creates positive energy for them, for each other, and for others too, to be around you. So those are some of the ways and importance of trust there. Okay, so Mackenzie, can we send out that handout?
Yes, so in the moment, I'm going to put a link in the chat. If you just put that link in your browser, it'll take you to a handout that details, I believe, different ways of building trust.
Yeah, and so go ahead and do that. And when you get it, you've got to kind of read it. You can go through it and look at some of the ways each of those 6 behaviors can be treated. And then I'd like you to identify, so you have to think about this and maybe make a couple notes. What are at least 3 behaviors that you feel would have the greatest impact on your team or your organization? So here they are: demonstrate respect, and you'll see it goes a little deeper than just a bullet point. Create transparency, listen first, deliver results, practice accountability, and extend trust. So go ahead and read through that quietly. I'll give you a few minutes to do that, and then we'll have a little discussion about what you think are the 3 that would change, be effective in your organization. What I call it, greatest impact on your team or your organization, and maybe if you're willing, why. I'm going to give you another minute or so because there's also some good quotes in there you might want to check out. Does anybody need more time? Just let me know. You ready to go? Yes, no? Okay, thank you. All right, so let's open it up. You guys can share the three ways, the behaviors that would you feel would make the greatest impact on your team or your organization. Would somebody come start off and just name three, and then maybe I could ask you a little bit about it if you're willing to share. So anybody can start. Okay, so one of them is, at least listen first. What else? What are the three, Lisa? Okay, Carrie has three. Accountability, transparency, and deliver results. So do you want to explain that, Carrie? What accountability and results? Be accountable. Accountability is showing up a lot. So are you talking about your team or your organization? All over. Listen first, create transparency, and demonstrate respect to the team. Okay, somebody needs to open up and explain at least one. How about Amber? Listen first, create transparency, and demonstrate trust. Those are nice phrases, but what do you mean by that? And I'm going to ask others too. I'm trying to have a discussion here. So what do you mean by that?
I will say, Terri, people aren't able to unmute. So if
Yeah,
people want to put their responses into the chat,
yeah.
and expand on maybe one of them since it takes some time to type those out.
Okay. No, I understand they're only texting. Just trying to keep it straight. For me, it's one team member that is not trustworthy because they failed at delivering results and practicing accountability. Okay, that's clear. Sometimes it's just one, and that's when maybe the discussion about trust comes in. Thank you, Kelsey. Who else? When I and my staff utilize these three behaviors, it shows trust going both ways and builds the team. I'm not sure I understand that. When I and my staff utilize these three behaviors, you're answering another question. I'm trying to keep this straight. Okay, I'm not following this. When I and Carrie, could you explain what you mean here? Sorry. I wish my team were all trustworthy because one weak link destroys the rest. Trust for the rest of the team. Well, that's, there's strength in numbers. Could you repeat your question? What question? Mine?
The prompt for putting things in the chat.
I want to work on being a better listener for my team so that they trust that I hear them. Very nice, Lisa. Be accountable, create trust. When you do these things, you empower your team to give you their best. Well, these are beautiful. You guys are thinkers. Let's see what else have we got here. Listen to the team, respect their opinion, even if you do not agree. This creates trust. Yeah, and when there is trust, that people can say things and others can say, well, that's an interesting point, and I just don't agree with it. We don't all have to agree with everything to have a team. Um, what is the prompt? Abigail, what do you mean by that?
I think she was asking you to repeat prompt to put things in the chat.
The prompts.
What you were asking for.
Oh, I just want you to share the three behaviors, just the exercise. Three behaviors that you think would impact your team or your organization. Be clear, like Nick has it, two, 1, and 6. Be clear of your intentions when talking to your team. Treat everyone as if they're an equal to you. Then extend trust by allowing them to carry out your mission without over managing. True. That's actually a bad form of managing, is micromanaging. Yes, I had a quick call. Thank you. Okay, ma'am. I didn't understand that. Thank you. I'm new to a team that is working on a lot of things. I'm building a place where we can see everything and focus. This will help with the accountability piece and results. That's Holly. Building a place. All are part of trusting that goes both ways. When you said forgive a while back, and then also need to support each other, makes accountable and do not shame or blame. We've got a lot of that going on in the world, a lot of pointing of fingers. And I frankly think the lack of trust is probably the biggest problem facing the world today. So these are important things to do. Start with you and your friends and your team and your organization and build trust. It's crucial to how we work and how we accomplish. Being transparent is important for my team because previous leadership wasn't, and I am trying to build and strengthen the team members. Practicing accountability leads to delivering results. True. All right. Good stuff. Very good stuff. Anybody have a lingering thing they want to say? I'm sorry, I'm looking at this chat, not at you. All right. Appreciate all your input. That's very good discussion, even though we were chatting, but still, we're adapting, right, to all these different ways of doing things. So I always think trust is a choice. You need to choose it. And I love Ernest Hemingway's quote, the only way you know you can trust someone is to trust them. And then if you're wrong, but you start that way. I just think it makes you a better personality to say, I'm going to just trust this person. Um, I have trouble trusting, like, um, when I shop online, I'm a little leery about what I'm doing and where I'm going and whether I can trust the organization that's offering this product or service. So it's hard sometimes, but I err on the side of trusting as a choice. So I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, I'd like to hear them. So that's it. I just have questions and comments for you. Opened up for that. Whatever questions or comments you have. I think Mackenzie, you mentioned that we'd have this at the end here.
Yes. So if you have any questions that you've thought of throughout the webinar but didn't have the chance to ask, now is the time to put those in the chat. And while people are typing those out, because that can take a second, Terri, I have a question for you. Um, so, so you've worked with a lot of organizations in your time in the public sector. Are there any specific things you notice with our kinds of organizations in regards to trust that might differ from others, or is it fairly the same across the board in terms of pitfalls, like advice is all still applicable?
Yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes it's the micromanaging organizations have that tend to be less trustworthy. And there are some organizations that absolutely love what they do. They're public sector people. They love working with the public, and others who just find it a grudge. And I think that means a lack of trust, a lack of opening up to people, asking questions. So it's the same pretty much across the board, but it depends on the culture of the organization itself. If the culture is open and trusting and has a sort of a hands-off management, meaning you know what you're doing, use your own judgment, then I think you get more of that trust. If you have someone that's holding the reins really tight, you don't have it as well. That's the best I could do. I think your question is there anything specific that I notice?
No, that's a good response. We have one person responding in the chat. I think trusting online is an entirely different situation. I don't think it's a wise idea. That's fair. Trusting your people and coworkers, that's one thing. Be careful on the internet, folks.
Yeah, I know. I've learned that lesson. Really learned it bad. I had a pair of shoes I ordered. They were very nice looking online. Ordered them and they came and they were awful. They didn't fit. They were plasticky. And so I went to return them and my shipping guy said, these are from China. It's going to take at least $50 to ship them back. So
Yeah.
I have a new pair of shoes that I don't want. So, all right. So what else? Come on. Questions. I'm open for anything. Comments, maybe. All right. Let me ask you a question. What did you learn the most? What was the most important learning for you today? What are you going to take away and use?
While people are typing stuff out. Ooh, open-ended questions.
Yeah, I see
Uh,
it.
better understanding of how I trust and don't trust.
Yeah, I can see these. Oh, transparency is essential to trust. Yeah, it is. Yeah, good. How can you trust someone who's not able or willing to rebuild trust with you? Well, that's a question, Kelsey. How do you trust someone who's not able or willing to rebuild trust with you? That's going to take some wearing down of that schism between you. You're trying to trust them, but I guess they're turning their back on it or they're still not connecting with you. You got to keep at it, keep asking the questions. And, you know, it's hard because you also might want to just give up. They don't want to be in a relationship with you and you're trying to be a relationship, you just leave the door open. You're available. That's one of the things about transparency. I'm available if you want to. I'd really like to connect with you and rebuild our relationship. So when you're ready, I'm here. That might be the better way. Validating your team and gaining and earning trust is the key to making a great working environment. Absolutely. Recognize the ways we can improve our listening skills. Yeah, and I'll do that. Um, Trusting involves listening with your heart. I had never heard that before. Yeah, it does. And it takes slowing down a little bit when you listen with your heart and when you listen whole body, if you will, you really look in someone's eyes and you really stop and pause. We're always going so fast. And if you're having a conversation, that's fine when you're working and you're keyboarding away or whatever. But when you're having a conversation with one of your teammates or colleagues, you got to be there for them. Humility really works too. Yeah, that's the trusting creates trust. I love the vulnerability piece. We've been discussing that recently amongst our team. I also love the saying, trust is a choice, choose it. Yeah, that's good, Beth. Thank you. Yeah, I was talking about vulnerability to another organization, and they quoted somebody named Brene Brown or something. I guess somebody has a TED talk about vulnerability. Brene Brown, I think her name was.
Yeah,
And
I
her,
think that's correct. My mom listens to her stuff.
okay, I'll have a new person to look at. Okay, trusting creates trust. I also know that mistakes happen, and it's a way to learn. Like you said, saying sorry goes a long way. It sure does. She's great. Okay, any other questions that we can get cleared up? Oh, you're going to share the handout with your team because I don't want to single out my one staff who needs the attention the most. And this is especially for you. Yeah, you don't want to do that, Carrie.
It's useful for everyone.
Yeah, they are. They're good stuff in there. And um, there's something that I tried to answer, and I want to hear Kelsey. Was that helpful about how you might rebuild the trust with the person that's not willing to rebuild it with you? I mean, if you apologized and did all the things that we talked about, or I just I want to know if if it was any help for you, to say, just be available to that person. Say something about, um, I'm trying to reconnect with you, but if you're not willing, I understand, but I just want you to know I'm available. Is that going to be helpful? I'm asking Kelsey. Anybody can answer though.
Yes, we have a response in the chat.
Oh, she didn't say that. Okay. Brene Brown spoke on vulnerability. All right.
Okay.
Okay, folks, I think we're done.
Yes, with that, although it would be great to, we should have like a CSD pool book report hour. That'd be fun. Thank you all so much for attending. Terri, thank you so much for your presentation today. It was very informative. As I said, the recording of this will be sent out afterwards. It looks like there's also an evaluation survey. Terri, if you want, send me the link to that and I can include that in the follow-up email for everyone that has the recording. Um, and with that, see you all next time. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Bye bye. Thanks, Mackenzie.